So I'm gonna do a quick video tutorial for you for the sourdough bread, okay? The first step that you're gonna do is you take about maybe a quarter cup the sourdough starter that you have in the fridge right now, and you put it into a tall container, whatever. Here, just so you can see, this is what it looks like right now. Usually it does not have that liquidy kind of stuff on the top. It looks a little bit more solid, everything. So, and I didn't use a clean container, so that is the one that I took out the last batch for baking. So you can see it's about that much that I added. So I'm gonna give that a quick stir. I used chopsticks. It's the best thing to actually use to, you know, incorporate the liquidy stuff and make it all homogeneous again. So I'm just gonna give it a quick roll here. Ooh, this is hard. So I now stirred the whole thing, and you can see it looks nicer now and all incorporated. So all the liquid that was on top is now incorporated. And now I put it on my little OXO scale. I love that one actually because you can kind of take that off. So if you have a big bowl that is a white bowl, you can still kind of see the scale. And it's very easy to switch between pounds and kilograms and to zero it out. So you just press this button and then it zeroes it out, and then you can just add material as you go and zero it out in between to kind of get the weights right. So my starter is 100% white all-purpose flour, wheat flour, and I would suggest to keep it that way initially, and you can start experimenting with different types of flours later on, okay? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add about 40 to 60 grams, depends on when you wanna bake, of flour, and the same weight amount of filtered water. I have here the thing, I have zeroed it out, and now I'm gonna take my all-purpose flour, and I'm gonna add about, okay, I'm not gonna bake right away tomorrow. If you wanna bake right away, you should probably go with whatever it takes to get you to a total of about 230 grams, water, flour, and starter mix, okay? Right now, I'm not gonna bake tomorrow, so I'm gonna just add about 30 grams of flour, like so. 31, it's not a science, like seriously, it's not. Well, a little bit, but not much. And then I'm gonna zero it out. So it says 31 grams now. I'm gonna zero it out, and I'm gonna add 30 grams of water. Yeah, see, now it's 35, so I'm gonna add another 4 grams of flour. I'm saying it's not a science, but I'm anal retentive, so I'm still gonna make it matchy-matchy. There you go. So once you've done that, you just give it a quick stir. Well, not a quick. You stir it until it's like all incorporated again. And it now still smells sour, but not as sour anymore because you have now way more flour and water added to the original starter. Mine right now was smelling way more sour than usual because it was sitting outside without being fed for about 2 days. So added about that much in volume. And this is what it looks like. The bubbles are gone now, and it's just a nice mixture. So what I'm doing now is, like, it's all mixed. I'm gonna move up the, I have a rubber band just so that I have an idea of how much the volume has increased. So I'm moving it up now. This is about how much I have. And then what I do is I just put, you know, one of those cheap ass coffee filters, put it over with a rubber band. And now I let that sit for a day or so, and I'm going to show you later on, you know, how it will look once it's grown and how much more air bubbles there will be. Okay. So the starter has doubled in size. I already put it in, but believe me, it did double in size. So now is the day that I'm going to start making the dough, and tomorrow is going to be the baking day. So yesterday I fed the starter so that I get to about 220 grams that I need for the dough. And today I now will actually create the dough, make the dough, and then put it in the fridge overnight so that I can bake tomorrow. So this is how it looks now, you see? So you see, It has, it's basically floating. So a lot of bubbles were there, and because there's so much gas in there, it actually is floating. That is a good sign. That means it's a very active starter. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my little slotted spoon here, that thing, see? And mix it in. And there's also a tablespoon of sugar in there, okay?
And lots of love.
So I'm mixing now the starter into the water here. You can see it's all mixed in. Doesn't matter if there's still clumps and whatnot. It doesn't have to be smooth or completely dissolved. So see, this is how it looks like now. So wait, can I see it? Here. So, you know, there's still kind of clumpies there, but doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be fully mixed. The water was basically about, I don't know, 85 degrees, 90 degrees, something like that, lukewarm. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it back on my handy dandy weighing machine on the scale, zeroing it out. And now I'm going to add, it's 0 now, I'm going to add one after the other, the all-purpose flour, the diastolic malt. Hold on, I'm going to get that. Show you what I have. Diastatic, oh my god. Okay, so this is the stuff that I use. I've ordered it at Amazon. So what it's called, it's Anthony's Premium Dry Mold Powder, and it's diastatic, whatever that means. And I use that because it has a little bit of malty sugar, which comes in addition to about almost not full tablespoon of brown sugar that I put in there, and the malt powder, and it also helps it to the crust to be nice and a little bit brown and crusty, I guess. Okay, I'm going to add the flour now, and then I show you how it looks once I stir it with flour. So I have my all-purpose flour here, and the recipe that I'm always using calls for 600 grams of all-purpose flour. Initially, I would just stick with the all-purpose, make a white bread. It's really awesome. What you tasted was a white 100% all-purpose flour. You can use bread flour, which makes it a little bit chewier, because bread flour has more gluten, and gluten is what makes it chewy and elastic. So I'm going to add the 600 grams. And oh, by the way, so the water, the amount of water, what was it? It's 1 3/4 cups, but I do it by weight. It's about 400 grams of water. It's lukewarm, and I do not put the salt in right away. So I just put the sugar, the starter, the water, the flour, the diastic malt powder, and then I let that rest for about 20 minutes. So you put the salt in after. So what I did is, before I put the sugar in the water, I took about that much water out, which it looks like a lot, but it's not really a lot. It's not quite a 1/4 cup, and I added a tablespoon of water in there, of salt, and that is what I'm going to add after the 20 minutes into the shaggy dough. Okay. So I'm adding the last bit of flour here, so... Oh, shit. My beer in the freezer. So it's supposed to be 600 grams, 616, don't matter. It's not that bad. So you see, this is what it looks like now. So the water is underneath here. Oops. I don't know whether you can even see that. Sorry, that was stupid. So the water is here, and I just piled the flour on top. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch the mode and then show you how I'm going to start stirring it. So 600 grams of all-purpose flour in about 400 grams of water. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to start mixing with my slotted spoon here. You can use anything. And ooh, look-see here. See what I have in here? It's a sweet laurel leaf. I put that into my flour because it keeps the moths out. So I'm going to mix that, just slowly incorporating it, and it's going to be very, very dry and a very shaggy dough, because remember I took out about a scant 1/4 of a cup of water. Mixing it slowly so that it doesn't kind of totally dust everything and all over the place. And I'm a very lazy person, so I'm going to just keep that all in the same bowl. I'm going to scratch the sides, and if it's like crusted and ugly, I don't care. I'm not going to oil it. A lot of times people say, oh, you know, you take it out and then you put oil into the bowl and then let it rest. It's not needed. Doesn't matter. Doesn't make the bread much better, or any better, actually, not that I could taste. I could never taste a difference. So see how this is really like shaggy. This is not like a very super smooth dough or something. And at the same time, you can see I still am scraping the flour off the side. That gets stuck. And here, you might see there is kind of still lots of flour that's not incorporated. So I will try to make it, to get it all incorporated, to get that sticky, shaggy consistency here. Oh shit! See, now that happens all the time. I forgot the malt powder. Damn it. Doesn't matter. Sometimes I have added it after. Right now I remembered, so I'm just here. This is what it looks like. It tastes a little sweet if you want to try it. And it's going to be 2 teaspoons. So that adds additional dryness. So here's the shaggy dough. All powder smells good. Okay, so that's pretty much it for now. So I'm going to give you a view of how this looks in a second. So I'm just wiping the rest of the starter into here. Not necessarily, I'm just a cheapskate. I mean, I'm going to use everything. Okay. This is how the dough looks now. So this is what is described as a shaggy dough. It's elastic, but not really much yet. And so what I'm going to do now is I'll place the lid on. So I'm going to let it rest here now for about 15 to 20 minutes. Again, not a science really. Well, it is a science, but really not. So I see you in 20 minutes. I'm back. And as I said earlier, not rocket science. I wanted to have this thing rest for 20 minutes and it rested for 2 hours. So here's my salt and water solution. That's the water that I took out previously, tablespoon of salt in there. And what I'm doing now is, this was the shaggy dough. I'm going to just add the whole salt water mixture in there. It's a whole tablespoon. That's important. You don't want to have a bland tasting dough or bread. I did that once. It's horrible. Okay, so now you see it's like a lot of water in there. And what you do now is you poke the damn thing. So just like a focaccia a little bit and just, yeah, poke it. And then squeeze it and squish it. It's like let your inner child go wild. And it becomes really, really soft and nice and squishy and muddy and Play-doughy. It's very nice. So you can see, not shaggy anymore. And now I'm trying to get to the bottom of it and pick up all the water that is that kind of seeped below the dough. And I just squish it and squeeze it, poke it. So now the dough is super wet. So before it was shaggy and dry, and now it's pretty much the opposite, very, very wet. So now we start what we call folding. So now you start folding the dough because you don't really need it, like totally. But what you do, and you do that for 6 times every half hour, if you're not stupid like me and forget it in between, and then in between you let it rest for an hour or so. So it's like, yeah, whatever, about 6 times in about between 2.5 and 4 hours. So right now it's 7:30. Sometime around 10 or something, I will probably.
Hey, Oscar. Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
So sometime around 10 or something, I will probably get it in the fridge. So folding, what you do, this is kind of tricky. So Martin, come a little closer. You kind of dig under and then you shake it a little bit and fold it over itself. See, like so, like an envelope. And see how it already becomes like it was globby and blech, and now it already becomes a little bit more elasticy. So the original recipe just called for, just fold it 4 times and then let it rest again. You know, I just kind of fold it until it becomes a little bit more doughy and elastic. See, and now it already becomes, it's getting harder to fold it over. So I'm going to do it one more time till I get that little bump because I'm anal retentive. It looks ugly. So I'm going to take that little bump, fold it, and that's it. And again, you don't need to oil the bowl or be fancy. It's all good.
Basically,
now,
shake and bake.
Now you put the lid on again, and now you let it rest for another half hour. And then every half hour, you repeat the process. I'm going to only show it like 1 or 2 more times to you, probably after the second time, and then the last time that you see how the dough develops and gets like nicer and prettier.
Can I stop?
Yes.
Okay. Now I can show. Oh, it's gone. Hey, I see. Yeah.
I'm gonna
Look.
do that anyway.
Look at its beautiful tail.
Alright, so hey John, this is the dough now. I forgot about it again. So it rested 3 times. I folded it 3 times. And now it's going to be the 4th time. And in between it was about 1.5 hours instead of only half an hour. So it's a little puffy. So what I do now is, this is very wet and kind of squishy. So you kind of go, come a bisschen höher.
Yes.
More, yeah. So I'm going to kind of give it a little bit of a tuck so that it comes out, and then do the folding again. But it's very wet, so you have to kind of you see how the air is, well, you don't see it, but you hear how the air is kind of coming out. See, here's those bubbles. Okay, and that's it. So I'm gonna, that's the 4th, 5th time now. I don't know, 4 times or 5 times I folded it. And I'll do that 2 more times, and then I'm gonna put it in the fridge.
Okay.
Okay, so it's 11:30 now, so took a little bit longer. Well, it didn't take longer. I just look at it. This is how it looks like. So you saw that you see that it kind of went up, and you see it's very liquidy, right? But that's okay. So again, what you do, I'm going to fold it one last time before I go to bed, and put it in the fridge. So you kind of go in there and try to grab the outside, and then lift it up, fold it over itself. I need 2 hands, otherwise it won't work, but you kind of get the gist. So here, like so, stretchy, fold it over, like for the last time. And it's not like that you have to shake it out or something. I just want to make it, stretch it so that it folds better. Okay. One more time. It's very, and the more you fold it, the more kind of it all comes together. Okay, so one more time. Okay, now it looks pretty. So I'm gonna take it off a little bit off the side. Here's what it looks like now. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm gonna put the lid on and put it in the fridge overnight. Night night. So it's almost 4 in the afternoon, and the dough was in the fridge for a long time now, rising. We went to the Christmas tree farm and got a nice tree today. So now I'm ready to do day 3 of the baking experience, which is the actual baking, but it will still take about 2.5, 3 hours. So what I'm doing first is I prepared my work surface here, where I will flour it. Well, first I actually got a beer. Okay, I'm gonna get the dough. Stay here. So this is my beautiful wet, massively risen dough. As you can see, a lot more in there than before. It's still super wobbly and not very, firm or anything. So what I'm going to do now is get my old trusted thing from my grandmother. I'm going to spread a little bit of dough. Bullshit, a little bit of flour on the work surface here. And this is where we'll turn over the dough. But first, because it's this, again, this is high hydration bread, so it's not a dry, nice dough that you can form, and it's going to be sticky and whatnot. So first I'm going to loosen it here a little bit, like so, from the side. And you can see all the little bubbles that are forming. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go all around and try to scrape it halfway off. It will deflate a little bit during that thing, but it doesn't matter because we will let it rise again for about 2 hours at room temperature, or 2.5 hours actually. So this is going to be very sticky. I can feel that already this time. Gosh, I hope this turns out well enough. That would be typical, me filming all the crap and then getting a crappy bread for the first time. Okay, so I'm gonna let it go here. And out. So you see how it's not holding its shape, obviously. It flattens out, it's soft, it's soft. Yeah, look at it. Weird, huh? Okay, so since I don't like the really super big breads and I usually share with my neighbors, I make 2 breads out of that. What you definitely want to have is one of these bench scraper thingies. There's some that have, you know, a wooden thing, but I like those because I just plop them in the dishwasher. So I'm gonna go roughly, I'm gonna put some flour on there a little bit because otherwise it will stick. Kind of sort of in the middle. So you cut it, move it. See, it's sticky. Damn. Okay. So now I got my 2 halves. I started off with making the round bowls, but lately I prefer the oblong ones because you can cut them and the slices are more equal size when you cut them. So it's, you know, nicer to make sandwiches and whatever. I went to the oblong one, but the round ones look prettier theoretically. So what I do now is, most recipes tell you to let it rest for a little bit, come to room temperature. But what I do, because I'm going to fold it once. You have to fold it one more time. So I'm going to do the envelope thing and then turn it around and let it rest for a bit. So this is going to be a little tricky because it's not like round and nice. So I'm going to move that thing out of the way. I'm going to just kind of ease it into a little flatter version and then try to fold it. So you fold it once, then you fold it over here, envelope wise, this way. And now, ooh, look, nice. And now you just kind of turn it like so. And what I got now here is kind of a nice looking thing already, right? So I'm gonna tuck that under a little bit, tuck this, and then this is done for now. Put it on the side, and this will rest for about 20 minutes to come to room temperature, both of them. So here, same thing again, you kind of ease it out a little bit so that you can fold it nicely. So put it over once, this way, that way, and then just like so. And tuck it in. And there's bubbles gonna come all over the place. That's good, that shows the activity and that you had a nice active starter. So now I'm just gonna put a towel over, and that's it. It's gonna rest for 20 minutes. The bread is resting for like the 15-20 minutes now to come a little bit more to room temperature. I took out my proofing baskets. As I said, I use the oblong ones, not the round bowl shapes. I forgot what this shape is called. If I were a baker, I probably would know, but I don't. So the important thing is I don't use the cloth. You may choose to use the cloth initially. If you use the cloth, you really, really have to flour it super well. Massage the flour into the fabric, and then put as much as you can keep sticking to the sides of flour on there, because otherwise your dough will totally stick. It's a very high hydration dough, and it's definitely going to be sticky. So here's what it looks like. I don't fully clean it out after each bake. This is some of the loose stuff that I just shook loose. And what I do is I put a good amount of flour in. There's already the black spots that you see is sesame seed or chia seed or whatever I sometimes add there. So here's now the amount of flour that I put in there. It's quite a bit. And what I do is wait, let me try and show you. You know, I don't know whether that's the best way. It's all kind of, so for whatever reason the video cut off, but what I did is basically just have the flour and kind of smooth it into all of the grooves and try to make it stick as much as possible to the sides there. So in the end, this is the fully floured basket, how it looks like. Okay, so you have, you know, all the grooves, and especially those corners here, they're well floured. It will always stick a little bit usually, but we'll see how it goes later when I try to get it out. So the bread has now rested for about 15-20 minutes, according to my clock. And now I'm going to give it the final shape. It looks already a little bit like, you know, it would fit in here, and it probably would. But I want to shape it a little bit more to get more of the surface tension on the top and kind of tuck everything nice and tight. Make it, again, into, you know, an oblong shape in this case. And then fit it into this basket. And I choose to, normally, because you can score it, but what I usually do is I just put it seam side. So the seam side is currently down, right? We folded it, we turned it around, it's there. And put it seam side down in the basket, so that when I turn it around later, the seam will actually be the top. And when you bake it, I don't have to score it. It just breaks open naturally on the seam and it looks a little bit like very rustic. I like that. Okay, so I'm gonna move one of the loaves over. I use my bench scraper to tuck it over, very sticky. And I'm gonna start with that one. So what I do is, it probably will turn a little bit into a round form first, and then I'll move it. And you would leave it for your round balls if you choose to use my balls. Well, that sounded weird. So I'm gonna start doing. I don't know. It's not even that funny. Regardless, so you just watch. What you do is you kind of try and shape it and cup it. So you cup it and have that kind of movement to kind of try and tuck it under. So stretch the surface on the top and tuck it on the bottom. And at first going to be round, and then I'm going to use my bench scraper to make it long again. So, and here, like, just watch, whatever. So see, what I'm doing is I'm doing this motion, like starting on the top, and again, use a little bit of flour and tuck it under. So you basically do this, and see how the surface kind of becomes nice and round and stretchy, and yeah. So you cut it like well, I'm not going to say again. Okay, so this is now very nice and tight. The whole thing here is, it looks tight. There's still some bubbles, but that's fine. And now what I'm going to do is I use the stickiness of the dough. That's why I don't have a lot of flour on the bottom. I don't want it to be super floury and slippery. And the stickiness of that bench scraper, I'm just going to move it and shove it over like so. See how it kind of sticks, and it now becomes like a log. Again, you can skip that step if you use the round bowl. So it becomes longer and longer. So, and now, oh, I forgot mine. Okay, I'm gonna get that. I always like a little bit of a seedy stuff, like either. It's not. I like seeds and stuff on top of the bread. So I use a little bit of rolled oats, and a little bit of chia seeds, and I'm going to put that on later. Oh, here I have a little sesame seed mix that's also nice. So anyway, so I'm going to give it a little bit more of a shove. And sometimes to make it, see how this is the seam side, but the seam is not that much there anymore. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick up the sides and just do this. And this gives it a nice deep seam that can crack open later for the baking part. Doesn't look like it because it comes together. So this is the bottom now. So what I'm going to do now is just put some, I'm going to use sesame seeds this time around. And just a couple of them on top. This is actually stuff that I have to use. Usually I wouldn't use the fancy shit. This is like land and sea. There's a little bit of, what's the Japanese stuff called? The nori in there as well. So not needed, but I don't want it to go bad, so I'm just gonna use it for this. Because I'm like my grandma, I can't throw shit away. So, and now I'm gonna put a little bit of chia seeds, because why not, in here. Actually no, I'm gonna put in first, like here, I grab just a couple of fingers full, put it in here. See, like so. The same with the chia seeds. Also, like so. And then why not add a little bit more of the land and sea crap. Okay. Oh my God, I did it the wrong way around. I'm such an idiot. I put it all on the bottom side. This is going to be the bottom of the loaf. Okay, turn it around, because I want that to be on the seam side. Well, it doesn't matter. You know what? Because I have put it here, I'm just going to put more of this land and sea shit in here. And then I'm just going to take that. Oh, but let me show you. Here's the thing. I'm going to take it and put it in here gently. So seam side down. Okay, so now what we have in here, this was so not necessary because it actually goes on the bottom of the bread and it probably just gets burned. Well, regardless, there's another one. We can avoid that. And what I'm doing is I'm going to scrape, that's why it's called a bench scraper. Scrape the bench and just put it in this on the side here, because that is where it starts sticking once it actually rises. It will rise over the next 2 hours. So just gonna put it there in the sides and the cracks. Okay. So this is how the baby looks now. Here's my little handy dandy bag. Put it in and, you know, sit it on the knob. Put that on the side. So this one's ready. This one will now go for another 2 hours or so. So I'm gonna just rinse and repeat. This time I'm gonna put the sesame seeds and whatnot on the right side, which is the seam side, because that's what's gonna be up later, not on the bottom. That was stupid. I'm gonna turn it off and you can watch it. No, you can't watch it because I'm not gonna record it. What I did with this one now is right. I put the seeds at the bottom, but I did sprinkle a little bit more flour and kind of put it on the side so that it hopefully doesn't stick too much to the proofing basket. So both of the breads are now here, there, 1 and 2, and I'm gonna let them sit there for 2 hours. I set my timer to 2 hours. In 2 hours, I'm gonna turn on the oven and I'm gonna put my the pots that I'm gonna bake them in. Damn it, what are they called? These things here. Dutch ovens. Dutch ovens. Okay, so I'm gonna I have 2. This is 1, and I have another one. So I'm gonna preheat the oven after in 2 hours or so. I'm gonna preheat the oven to 500 degrees. I put the Dutch ovens in so that they actually come up to temperature. And yeah, and once we get there, I'll start recording again. See you then. In order to keep the wife happy and yourself happy, clean up after you right away. Yeah, it's easy. With a bench scraper, everything is already basically clean, so you just have to clean it up, put all the shit that you took out away. Pet peeve. It's 2.5 hours later. The oven has been heating for about half an hour with the 2 Dutch ovens in it. And now I'm going to take this Costco parchment paper and rip it off like about the width of the bread. Since I have 2, I'm going to do 2. So, now I'm going to take the breads out. Look, they're kind of nice and poofy. Okay, here's one. Very nice. And the other one. That one didn't get the seeds on the bottom. Yeah, those will be hard to come out, but we'll get it done. So, I'm going to do one first. And basically, put the paper over the basket, this way, and then just gently turn it around, like so. Let's see whether it will come out. Oh, actually it works out well. Beautiful. So, here's now one of them, right? Interesting. That just came out, and I'm not going to score it because remember I put it in there seam side down, so that is now up. So the seam side will crack open and it bakes. So I'm going to do the same thing here for the next one. Gently turn it over. And this one sticks a little bit more. So I'm going to ease it out with my fingers softly. There we go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this like this and drop it into, well, not drop it, but gently put it into the Dutch oven. So I'll take them out. That's very hot, so I'll turn it off for now. Here are now the 2 Dutch ovens that I took out, and they're super, super hot. Obviously, they came out of a 500-degree oven, so I'm going to all knit it up here. First, I'm opening that one here. And I take one of the loaves here, you know, like a baby in a swing, and let it in there gently. Ooh, oopsie daisy. That loaf was a little bit too big. And gonna put the lid on that. This lid. Oof. Okay, here we go. And here's the second bread. Somehow they turned out a little long this time, so my pans are, my Dutch ovens are just a little small. Okay. So now on goes the lid here as well, and immediately into the oven. So both of them are in the oven now. I'm not sure whether that really shows well, but anyway, I'm gonna turn now the temperature down to 450 immediately. It was actually on 510, but that is because, see, now it's on 475 because I opened the door for pretty long. Anyway, so I turned it down to 450, and now I'm gonna let it sit there with the lid closed and bake for 35 minutes, baking with a closed lid. And after that time, I'm going to remove the lid and bake it for another 10 to 15 minutes. Depending on how dark and crusty you want it, you can leave it in shorter or longer. I'll show you later then. Bye. Okay, it's time. 35 minutes later. Come here, come around here so you can show. I'm going to take off the lids, and you see they're still super light. But it's nicely proofed up. Well, those could be a little bit higher, but they're pretty good. So now they go back for another 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so the smell is pretty awesome here. What it looks like now. I think I'll leave it in for another 2 minutes. So I had it in for 13 minutes. No, 13 minutes. Now I'm going to leave it for another. It's on. Okay, so now it's 15 minutes after I took the lid off, and it's pretty nice and brown now. And I'm going to take them out. This is one of them. And that's the other one. So see, this one had a nicer crack here in the middle. This one is a little bit, doesn't look as good. But regardless, so they're ready. No smellophone, but hold it there. Oh no, they can't hear the crackling. The crackling only comes once I take it out and it cools down.
Can I stop it?
No.
Okay.
There's one. There's the other. So now you can hear the crackling. Yeah, good bread. And it's good. I like this darker crust here. Just FYI, this is not an accident. I like the dark brown and very crunchy crust. But you could leave it in less time, of course. Yeah, so those guys, see, they're not as high as they usually are, but whatever. They're gonna be delicious. Okay, bye. That's it. That's the last thing.